Hey everybody, welcome to a book tag from the truck. This is going to be an interesting book tag because this tag was meant to highlight Faulkner in August, and I'm a little bit late. So what I really wanted to do is I wanted to establish an apology for the rest of the Faulkner in August people, saying, I'm so sorry I'm starting late, I'm going to knock this sucker out, I'm going to read it, I'm going to get back in the Voxer chat and talk a little bit better. But for everybody who is not part of Faulkner in August and wants to join, I will put some links down in the description to some of these channels where they can guide you a little bit better than I can. And really want to highlight Alan's channel. Alan kind of spearheads this, and wanted to thank him for this tag as well, where he tagged me in this tag. I'm not a very well read in Faulkner, but I've enjoyed the time that I've read with him. So wanted to do the tag that he created to help highlight Faulkner in August and bring a little bit more names and eyes to the tag. So I'll tag a couple people who are not part of Faulkner in August, and maybe they'll do the tag just as a tag, but maybe also add some eyes to the project, which I think is really, really great. It's way outside of my normal reading taste, and I think it's necessary to find things that you don't normally read and read them. So here we go. We'll start with the first question. I don't know how to say this county name. Yaknapatwa County is the county that most of William Faulkner's books are set in. It's a fictional county in Mississippi. He grew up in Oxford. I think that's middle of the state, Mississippi, but so he grew up in Mississippi, and it's kind of a made-up reflection of who he was. So the question is, what county do you live in, and what does its name mean? I currently live in a county, yes, but I wanted to highlight the county I was born in. I was actually, my mother had me with a midwife, and I was born in a farmhouse in Rappahannock County, Virginia. Rappahannock. Yeah, that's on my birth certificate, Rappahannock County. There's no city, no town, no. Rappahannock County is on my birth certificate. I love it. I think it's one of the coolest things about my birth certificate and like my story, so I love bringing it up. So I'm not doing the county I live in, I'm doing the county I was born in because I love it so much. It was founded in 1656, but it went extinct in 1692 and was split to make part of Essex County and Richmond County. Then the Virginia legislature in 1833 reassembled the county. And the name of the county, it was named after the Rappahannock River, and that name comes from the Native American tribe, the Algonquian tribe, and it's the translation is river of quick rising water, or where the tide ebbs and flows. Love that. That's super cool. And part of the county, when the Shenandoah National Park was established, part of the county is in the Shenandoah National Forest, and people actually had their houses condemned and kicked out of their homes to create the national park. Kind of a negative story, but they put up a memorial for those people along the highway route, kind of saying, hey, this was not something that we should have done, but we did it, and we're sorry to these families that were removed from their homes. So that's question one. Question two. Benji in The Sound and the Fury is the ultimate unreliable narrator. In that book, I can link you if you want my thoughts on the first part of The Sound and the Fury. It was the first Faulkner novel I read, and Benji has a mental illness. I believe he was born with it. I know he was born with it. And so his story is told in pieces, and it's not linear. He goes backward and forward in time in his thought process, and he really relies on senses of smell and touch and the things in his environment really create the way he thinks about things. That's why he's such an unreliable narrator. He's very honest, but he has trouble making himself understood. Name another of your favorite unreliable narrators. For me, it would be the Liza Lachlamora. He is so unreliable in the retelling of his story. So he chose his own name, and we're not even 100% sure if that's actually his name. He I don't know. It's a really fun story. If you've never read The Lies of Lochmore, I do suggest it. Book 1 is the best. The next 2 books aren't as good, but they're still a lot of fun. Question 3. As I Lay Dying, this is a book that I have not read yet, so I'm not 100% sure what the basis of this is. Tell us about a book that draws on death or bereavement. So for me, I haven't read a book that is focused on death or on bereavement, but I really do want to read Pet Sematary by Stephen King. But one of the things that I think would work for this is The Memory Police, where she slowly loses everything around her. Basically, things are forgotten, and then they are disposed of. And because of these things, you consistently see her kind of losing herself. And losing the people around her are losing things and consistently losing things. So I think that would work for this. It was such an interesting story. I was sad but also confused and just really amazed at this story. Very, very interesting. Question 4, The Sound and the Fury. Jason 4, which is the third part of the story. It's told in four parts. The third part of the story is Jason 4. He's the ultimate unlikable character. Name another of your favorite villains. For me personally, it's from the Lightbringer series, Andros Guile. He will do anything to forward what he thinks is right. He's not necessarily a bad character. He does many, many bad things. He is not nice. He has a worldview that is hateful, not horrible, hateful, but he believes he's doing the right thing to save the world. And in doing the right thing to save the world, he will kill whoever he needs to get there. Question 5, Light in August. Name a book that made you furious or describes that intensity. So this, I'm going to go with a nonfiction book here. The Color of Compromise is a book written from a Christian perspective dealing with race and racism in the Christian, basically the American church. He doesn't have, the author himself didn't really have a lot of experience with other churches outside of the United States. So he mostly focused with American churches and racism in the American church, the history of racism in the American church. And as a Christian, I believe that racism is distinctly separate from Christianity. I don't believe that Christianity and racism can live together. And if you're trying to mend the two, you are breaking the ideal of Christianity. So personally, I feel like this book is, as a Christian, something everyone should read. It's interesting. It is enlightening. It brings forth history that needs to be learned about and known about. Currently, the church does a whole lot of just, I'm sorry that happened, but we're going to move on and not look back. And sometimes that's detrimental, because if you don't talk about the past, you're doomed to repeat it. It is something I've heard many times over. And we need to remember how awful we were, so that we can move forward and be better in the future. Question 6. Absalom was the son of David who rebelled against his father. Name a rebellion or a biblical character story. So I'll do both. Magic of Recluse is a story where a young man feels unsatisfied in his life, and he consistently is looking for that satisfaction. He's looking for a purpose in his life, and his father, he doesn't even know at the time, is a leader of a very important leader on the island that they live on, and so sends him basically on a walkabout to go find himself. And through the story, he rebels against his father because of the way his father dealt with him. So that's that story. But my favorite biblical character story is Jacob. I described, this is kind of a funny story. I described Jacob's marriages to my son. We were reading through the Bible, and this was probably, he was 5 or 6, and the point where he was trying to marry Rachel, and instead the father sent him the sister and had him marry the sister, and then tricked him to work for him for a year to marry Rachel, blew his mind. And the he is, I mean his name was changed to Israel, starting his story, tricking his brother for his birthright, tricking his father for the blessing, and then going off to another country, marrying 2 of his cousins, which back then wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. But like, just the things, Genesis is one heck of a book. I mean, there's some stuff like when there's creation, and then right after that there's destruction and the flood, and I mean, Genesis is cool. It's an interesting book. It, like, break down Genesis, or there's some great. I'll link you a really cool biblical resource that I use. And they kind of do a drawing of like biblical stories and kind of break down books of the Bible. I will link you that down below. It's a great resource if you want to kind of get overviews on what biblical books are about. But yeah, Jacob's story, super cool. He even wrestles an angel at one point. What is your favorite Faulkner novel and why? This is question 7. For me, I've only read The Sound and the Fury. And The Sound and the Fury, if you had watched any of my review videos, I kind of had a weird relationship with it. I didn't understand part 1 and part 2, made a video on it, and I was confused. And then read part 3 and part 4, and looking back on it, and then through some talking, kind of it made some sense. But the story I enjoyed the most was one of his short stories, Barn Burning. It is about a hateful man, and kind of the story between him and his son. And he goes and he does a bunch of stuff. Obviously, there's probably a burnt barn in here, but just that short story encompasses such an interesting aspect of a hateful man, and man, it was really, really super interesting. So I'm going to pick Barn Burning. I don't know if that's breaking the rules or not, but I'm picking Barn Burning. Extra credit, what was Faulkner's nanny's name, and why is this significant? So I looked this up. Her name was Caroline Barr, and she was his nanny, and she was a huge influence on his life. He actually wrote a letter to a man who was writing a book about black nannies in the South and the influence black nannies had on their lives. I'll link you the Lawrence.com article that I read about it. When she actually died at 100 years old, not long after this letter, back in the 1940s. But he credits her with a huge part of his life. And I thought that was super interesting. So for me, this is the end of the tag. I know there's some extra credit that some other people did on their tag, but I did this directly from Alan. Alan is great. Please check out Alan's channel. He has some very interesting books that he reads, and I love to hear his thoughts on books. I'd like to tag 2 people that I know we're not doing Faulkner in August, and it would be really cool to see their thoughts on this tag, even if they've never read a Faulkner book. And for that, I will pick the Literature Science Alliance, who is one of my good friends. I love her videos. And I'm going to try to pick a male booktube author. I'll do Working Man Reads. I know he's not reading any Faulkner right now, but I'd love to hear his thoughts on this. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this tag. I had fun doing it. Kind of a meandering tag, kind of talking about a couple things that I just really enjoy talking about. And I realized why I just enjoy doing tags. They're not, I did a little research on this one, but it was still a pretty easy tag to do. And they're just a lot of fun. And I think they're fun to kind of learn more about people. So really excited to share this tag with you guys. Please subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.